RGB wire, you wouldn't think it's very complicated. 3 different color wires, and you would think that when you turn power to the blue one, the lights turn blue. Power to the red, lights turn red. Right? Wrong. Red, green, blue. So I was just trying to wire up these RGB things, but when I give power to red, they turn blue, and when I give power to blue, they turn green. What's the deal with that? I'll explain all about that in this video. What's up guys, this is Chris and you are watching the FlyRyde channel where I teach all about the parts, the techniques, and the business of building custom lights. And one of the techniques that's super important is just figuring out what color wire turns on what color light. We like to make the wiring so simple that for a customer they just push 2 plugs together and their lights are all installed. Whether or not they have 5 different little components or 1 component, whatever it is, we want the install to be easy. Right? So let me show you why my face is flashing right now. Check out this headlight. Not only does it have strobe, which is making my face flash, but if we turn strobe off, we can now access other stuff. Bonus modes, we've got animations, we've also got a full range of color changing products, which are these little drivers right here. Here's the problem. This is one end of our wire harness, and it ends with a nice little plug that goes right into the headlight, keeps it super clean and fancy. Now it was already all taped up, but I had to undo it because I realized we didn't make the changes based on the fact that we know that the wire colors cannot be trusted. So while not all LED products that are color changing have the same exact issue with this, once you start changing the wiring that goes into the products, you've got to kind of know where you're at. If you make any changes, it's probably going to work differently than you would expect it to. Damn it, I was so trying to finish that little segment right there and wrap up that little wire harness with some electric tape, and I don't have any electric tape left. That's not a lot of tape. You end up looking for stuff half the day instead of getting anything done. Red, green, yeah buddy, and blue. So super important, I always want to test all the different functions of the light before it goes in for its final seal. So if you look close, you can tell this thing hasn't even gone in the oven to be completely sealed up. It still has gaps. This one's done, this one has to go in, but worst thing ever is you take all the time that you need to seal up a light. You clamp it shut, you get it perfect, you run that sealant all the way around the whole light and it's just perfect, right? And then something doesn't work. So before that little fat boy back there gets any action, I always want to make sure that every single function, especially on a set of lights that has a ton of different functions, is tested, it looks good, it works right, everything's perfect. Then we stick it back in the oven, and then we test it all over again to make sure it's still perfect. For some reason, even after 10 plus years of doing lights, I forget to prep my area before I pull lights out of the oven, and then I get frantic, and that's when you make mistakes. So, don't be stupid. Now, I want to finish up this wire harness by connecting the little plugs that go to the Bluetooth controller. And here's the thing, I've got a plug and it's got 4 black wires on it. only one of those is supposed to be black based on my wire harness colors. So I do have another little adapter. These are the parts that come with the XK Chrome. If you look at which wire is going to be the same on both of these, then you can tell that the one on my left right here is going to be red. So I'm going to start with that. Looks like it's going to be red, then green, then blue, then power. Ooh, I love that heat gun now. This has become one of my favorite things to do lately. It's such a geek thing, but I'm into it. So we've got these wires that have to go to our harness, right? And normally you crimp connectors on there, or you have you can solder and heat shrink like you saw me do earlier. But if I want to come to a nice clean connection to go from the harness to this pair of headlights, the best thing that I can do with these things, make sure that they're all the same exact length. This little 3-pin connector. It's so tedious. It's like the most weirdo geek thing you could possibly do. I like it. I'm a weird geek. So I'm taking this wire, twisting the end, and then just running this little yellow waterproof, it's like a little plunger. Once that's done, I'm laying the little pin on there. Got this special set of crimpers. First crimp, tighten it with the second, and then I've got the thing that holds on to the little yellow rubber. Check me out. That looks so dope. I remember these connectors. You had to figure out all these different color change things. Well, this is how simple it is to connect them to the control box. They have these special little connectors in the end, so we're just gonna plug them in. Done. So all of that just to make it simple to plug in a little wire harness. Now the moment of truth. So tons of wiring, tons of stupid little things that we have to figure out so that it's easy for the customer. And then once it's all said and done, we got cool stuff happening. Do it with the remote control. Everything's just simple at this point. Let's change some colors actually. I didn't even do that. Since these things are strobing and they're doing sequential animations, so it's funny because a lot of people want to have all of these things where it's like a little remote control or Bluetooth control of the lights or whatever it is. But if you're the guy that's building it, you have to actually get the wires right. The wires, the way that everything goes into place is the most important part because it controls everything. It determines if it's going to be safe, if it's going to keep working, or if it's just going to fail because you do really bad connections and water gets in there and ruins things. I've been guilty of it. I've got guys with crazy cars that I did amazing work on and then it went bad. Just the wiring, just the wire harness, a little droplet of water got on there and it just started throwing all sorts of things sideways. And then you got to tear everything apart and figure out what it was that caused that. So my advice to anybody is to do it right from the beginning. Take the time, figure out your wire colors, don't just slap things together. Use the dope waterproof pins and connectors and all that stuff. It just feels better once it's all done because you have a finished product and you know it's gonna last.